part of Cascade, we are here to earn our Communications Merit Badge, which requires us to come to a board meeting and cover multiple views on one subject, and we're supposed to write a report about it. And we're here, so.
It's a hazardous assignment.
Okay, so those in civilian clothing, please put your right hand over your heart. Those in uniform, please salute. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Hopefully we won't score you too much. There you go.
Okay, we're going to move on to 8.0, correspondence, proposals, and reports. We're going to move up 8.5.
We're actually going to move up 11.3.
11.3?
Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. 11.3, approval of Assistant Superintendent of Charter, Director of Education, Student Services. It's recommended that the board approve the Assistant Superintendent of Charter, Director of Education, Charter/Director of Education, Student Services. This is for employee number 141532, and effective date 7/1/15. Do I have a move? I'll move it in. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Distaso. Any discussion?
I will have to vote.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, that's a 4-0-1.
All right, so first of all, I'd like Kim, if you would. Kim Lytle is our new assistant superintendent, so I'd like to welcome her to the district. I can tell you she's currently the assistant superintendent of HR in Silver Springs, and she comes to us with a wealth of information. Polished individual. I've been more impressed with her every time we discuss different workings of the district. I can tell you, again, Kim comes from a very varied background. The entire committee was unanimous in support of Kim, and we're very excited to have her here, and I'm looking forward to working with her. Obviously, very, very difficult to replace Megan, but she will, I mean, she's that Megan type, let me just put it that way. And so she's, you know, I'm looking forward to working with her, let's put it that way, and I know she has a few words for you as well.
I do, and I wasn't going to speak on Megan's behalf, but I did have the opportunity to work with her for 2 years, and I'm happy to come in and fill her shoes, and I hope I do. I want to take a time and introduce you to my family. This is my husband, Dave, my oldest son, AJ, and my younger son, Jeff. And I need to let you know that they are the work behind the scenes, and they make my house happy and support me so I can come to you fully here, present, and ready to work. I also want to let you know that I don't take this lightly. I am honored to be in a position of leadership in your district or to be granted this opportunity. I won't let you down, and I can't wait to partner for your children and make sure that your community students continue to learn, and we can do everything under the sun to make that happen. So I'm going to let them go, but if you don't mind, I'm going to stay for the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're very lucky to have
Very
you.
happy to have you, Kim.
Thank you.
And the board is going to give you the gift of a promise that it will never be dull.
Yeah, I
Especially with this
kind of figure. That's good. I'm not a dull
That is our
person,
gift
so
to you.
let's keep it hopping.
Thank you.
All right, we're going back to 8.0. 8.1. AADA representative. Yeah, I asked you for I'll ask one more time for 7.0 for any public comments. No cards. Going on to 8.0, 8.1, AADA representative. Mr. Jorgensen. 8.2, CSEA representative. 8.3, student representative, Nikki.
Hello. Okay, so I'm going to start with just a reflection on the Night of Stars that was actually last night.
So that was our award ceremony where we got all the end of the year awards, all the scholarships were handed out, the seniors received the cords and things that we'll be wearing on graduation. And it was, personally in my view, very successful. I've gone the past 4 years that I've been at Vasquez, and it was by far the most organized, the most polished one that I've been to. It was just beautiful. All the attendees, we came dressed to impress. Like, it just matched the overall atmosphere of those like receiving awards family, everyone included. All the speakers were very prepared. Everything ran smoothly. It was the most scholarships were handed out that we've had in the past Night of Stars. And they also, I was told that we honored the most students at this awards than we have in the years previous. So that was great. And we had that 311 people attended. So that was a lot more than I really thought did, but the more I thought about it, I was like, there really was a lot of people, just ranging from like the senators, the congressmen, some of our board members. So last night was very successful. And then tonight we actually have the Powder Puff game going on. So that's when the boys are cheerleaders and the girls are playing football. And I actually just came from there, and it was halftime. The score was 7-7. So I guess we'll find out maybe by the end of the meeting what the final score was.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who got Callie the kicker?
It's freshmen and seniors, and then sophomores and juniors. So she was actually the quarterback for the sophomores and juniors.
She plays football normally, so
Yeah.
it's kind of...
Yeah, so it was actually really fun. The first half was really good, 7-7, so maybe I'll have a report by the end of the meeting as to who won. And it's more than just the girls playing. This is the third year that we've actually turned it into a fundraiser for Jack's Angels Foundation. And that foundation raises funds for cancer research on children's cancers, specifically brain tumors. And so all the funds that we raised tonight go back to that foundation. So this is the third year that we've worked with them and turned it into a fundraiser, which makes it a little different because we still have the competitive, we want to win, but at the same time, we have like the representatives from the foundation there, and so it makes it really nice. Currently, we have our last Spirit Week going on in school, and the theme this week is actually girls versus boys. So all the Spirit days, like it's girls versus boys instead of classes versus each other. So it was a little different spin on it. So we have our last pep rally tomorrow. So it's going to be all the girls of the school against all the guys. So that's going to be interesting. And then softball actually ended their season first in league and undefeated. And they got to go second round in the CIF playoffs. So that was our successful spring sport. So now all the sports are over with. And just basically, we're all anticipating just the last couple weeks of school. There's like 3 weeks of school left. So all the seniors, we're anticipating senior sunset coming up, grad night, our senior lunch, and then graduation on June 16th. So everything's just kind of wrapping up. So we're all just anticipating the end of the year.
Thank you very much, Nikki. And will you be at that next board meeting?
That's the night of senior sunset, so I'm gonna try, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure that out.
Let me know. Only reason why that'll be the last board meeting.
Yeah.
So, but let us.
That's when we roast you. She's here today.
But I would say,
It's all,
don't
you know,
miss
song.
Night of Sunset.
Right into the sunset.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys know. I'll let
It's such a hard decision.
I know, I was going to say, we'll endure without you. One sounds a lot more fun than the other.
Well, thanks again. And like I've said before, you have a great approach to this, and it's great that you appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Moving on to 8.4, VHS construction.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Porter. I appreciate that. We have a couple of things to report. The first one is, it was a couple days ago, I can't remember, it all seems to blend together. We had our largest pour of the entire project, and I think we had, I couldn't count how many concrete trucks we had. We filled all the footage of the gymnasium and the NPR. And so it's coming along, and man, they're really hammering out the gymnasium. Secondly,
Those footings are gonna be there
oh, they're
300 years from now.
yeah, they're huge. I mean, obviously it's a large building. The building will fall down.
I know, that's what have you seen them? They're like this
massive.
wide and like 6 feet.
Yeah, that's, you know, we have pumps and trucks, and it was insane. At the same time, I actually took a tour with several ladies from the Acton Women's Club, so that was a good opportunity for the tour. We had a good time. And they got to see, I mean, a lot of activity on that day. Secondly, we also just received word from DSA, they've approved our building K, which is, you know, the one building that's missing. You can see, obviously, they're starting to now pour the foundation. Everything's there. Everything's obviously stubbed up and ready to go. We've been ready to go. So it's already being built, and it'll be installed in short order. So that'll be our final building, and the final construction piece on that building will begin, and it's already begun, but it's in Bakersfield still under, so that I'll be taking up a couple trips up there to make sure that building's done with our DSA inspector up there. And then he's done after that, so that's a good piece too.
I'd like to go up there with you when we go.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Okay? Yes?
I haven't had a chance lately to look at the schedule, and it almost seems silly when you see how fast things are coming along. But we are firmly on track to opening the main part of the school in September.
We're talking about that.
There are some concerns with how the transition is going to look. And our big issues right now is the low voltage, which will be internet, telephone, PA, et cetera, in terms of installation.
In other words, if they give us occupancy today, it's going to be about a month before we can get in. So occupancy and us being able to have the students in there, two different things. So on the far end, probably it'll go on the far end.
My concern is, to be honest with you, is that whole issue around punch list. And I don't want to occupy because punch list gets hurt, damaged. I'm not moving in. I'm not doing anything until we're 100% satisfied with the entire facility.
Is there anything, I hear you, and I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular that's taking a little longer? I was going to ask how the insides are coming along.
Those are fine. My issue is the low voltage right now.
Floors are in, it's just the low voltage?
All that coordination of that and making sure everything works and is functional,
Those things.
it's become a headache. It really has.
How about the FFE stuff? I mean, it's all
Well-
that stuff you got to go out and buy, like desks, right?
Mr. DeVoe and I worked the other day. He and his staff did a marvelous job, by the way. I can tell you. They looked at everything you can think of. There's a big room over there. And they went and showed me all the stuff. We poured over every chair, every desk, everything you can think of. We built a foundational model for every classroom. And he's ready to order those. We're nearing a time where I'm going to bring you a big packet of purchase orders in the consent agenda. So we'll have all that stuff. Our problem is we don't want to store it for 3 months.
Right.
So we're going to try to, but we're also in the process. He's got it all done. It's all ready. I just need to make sure he's within budget. That's kind of what I'm betting right now. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure, only because there's so much. You underestimate what goes into a brand new school. Between gym equipment and phase 1, phase 2, I can't, overspend in phase 1 and get, end up short in phase 2. So he and I are working on it
A lot of
regularly.
stuff requires, being put together. A lot of this stuff, it's hard to imagine putting 500 desks, and that takes.
We're building in installation and whether it be putting it together into the products, and Ty has negotiated where they're going to do it all. And so we don't have to then hire another staff to start putting together desks.
I
They're
think
gonna
we've
do it for us.
succeeded greatly if we can have, at least these back handed over to us and prepare for occupancy by September. I think that's a great success, and then it might take us 4 to 6 weeks to fully begin.
Here's my thing. Let's say, for example, I anticipate, say, a September 1 turn where I can get punch lists, I can do all the things I just mentioned. That's a tight window that's not going to happen in terms of opening day. That's a scenario. Obviously, I'm pushing as fast and hard as I can without compromising the project. So it may be the end of September.
Doesn't mean
I understand.
with the progress.
Yes, sir. I
things
understand.
differently. So I guess what I heard was Ty's got the package together, what he thinks he wants. You're going through it to make sure it matches budget allocations, and I mean, the lead time to get that kind of stuff, I have no idea. I mean, is it months or
Weeks.
you still have, it's weeks?
Depends on the item,
I
obviously,
would say-
some
I would
things are
say
different,
so.
some packages. But it's weeks and things are in stock and ready to be shipped.
Okay, that's because you don't want to approve it too soon.
I will guarantee you that no matter what somebody tells you, there will be something that's not in stock.
Absolutely.
So what you're trying to tell me is you're threading the needle a little bit. If you approve it too soon, it shows up too soon and you're storing it, maybe it's getting dusty and dirty. If you wait, you don't want to wait too long because you want to have it when you foresee occupancy.
I also don't want to order it before I know clearly what
it's
the
going
entire
to
cost.
cost. Oh,
We're going to order it as soon as I can
I got
feel
it.
comfortable with
I
it.
got it. Thank you.
You bet.
I'm going to be a little bit quick tonight because I have a meeting after this one. So, we're going to move on to 8.5, Superintendent Report. That's it. Very good. 8.6, Mr. Fox, board member comments?
Nope.
Thank you. Mr. Distaso?
We did have our town hall meeting 2 days ago to go over our protocols for handling student deaths. And at one point I counted 22 people maximum. It didn't get any higher than that. So it wasn't a large turnout, but the folks that came were interactive. Staff did a good job at presenting their protocols and their reasonings for actions they either took or didn't take. A series of action items were identified and prepared, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of it. We're never going to have a situation in circumstances like this by their very nature and the emotional nature of these things. We're never going to have a circumstance where everybody's happy. And I've been in discussion with parents for the last week, but predominantly the last 2 days, both by phone, email, I think carrier pigeon, every form of communication I've had. And even those who disagree with some of the decisions that the district made disagree with each other about what those were. Some agree to one thing and not another. Some say, well, yeah, the district was right on that, but not on this. So, I mean, it just goes to the issue of you're never going to be able to, in a circumstance like this, have it be a situation where everybody is pleased with the outcome. I just don't think it's possible considering the nature of it. But anything that we can do to narrow that gap is great. I want to thank the superintendent and the staff. I mean, everybody showed up. They did a great job at articulating their reasonings. And to say it succinctly, I think the meeting served its purpose. And we'll continue to deal with residual issues that stem from it. There's no need to get into it tonight. For no other reason, it's not on the agenda. But in some of my parent conversations, there are concerns on the part of Mcevoy parents relative to the number of teachers that are on staff for next year. And they're hoping to avoid issues of extreme class sizes. So even though we're working for our 1 to 28 goal starting in September, when we hold our budget study, I'll bring more of the specifics in to discuss at that point. There's certainly no need to do it now. Mr. President, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, the only other comment I want to make is in regard to a study that we've been having for a late bell schedule, to have a later start, possibly for the high school. And as a result of that, there will be effects to the bus schedule, and we're exploring that at this point and seeing if it makes sense to us to do it, because we have limitations in that regard.
Are we putting that up for discussion this evening?
I'm
Because I'll have a lot of comments on
I understand that. So,
what you say also.
Yeah, it's not up for discussion, it's just my board member comments. So, there's a lot of benefits out there that's stated in the similar case that they make for an earlier start for going back to school. There's a lot of benefits that are stated out there for a later start to the school day. And a lot of these kids just can't fall asleep physically till maybe 11 o'clock or so. So there's a lot of studies out there that if they were to start maybe at 8 o'clock, and they would have a better school day. So we're looking into that. I just want to bring that up. And at this point, from what I see from the study that we've done, it might be too difficult to comply with that because of the bus schedules. So for the parents that brought that up to me, I just wanted to make that comment about that. And at some point, if we deem that it's doable, we can maybe look at it again. I personally felt that the best option would be maybe having a 7 o'clock start and an 8 o'clock start, like most high schools do. That's when I looked around to all the high schools in the valley, most of them are like that with a 0 period. So I do appreciate the staff's work on this, and then we'll take it from there. And if it does become an agenda item, so far it's only been a future discussion item. If it does become that, then we'll have further discussion on it. I just wanted to make that comment because I've been asked about it. We're moving on to 9.0, consent agenda. This is for the minutes of the regular meeting on the May 14th. Did everyone have a chance to go over those? I did too. Very well done. I didn't see anything. Mr. Layton? Mr. Distaso?
I can move it in.
Yeah, all right. All in favor of 9.0?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's for 9.1 minutes of the regular meeting, May 14th, and also the warrant register. Moving on to 10.0, educational and student services. 10.1, public hearing, Albert Einstein Academy of Letters, Arts and Science, Odyssey, material revision. The hearing is open at 8:06. And
Okay, Mr. Fishler, if you would, Einstein has a presentation tonight as it relates to material revision of what was previously known as the Odyssey.
This is for the Odyssey Charter. There are a few changes. I'll tell you what those few changes are, and then if you have any questions about anything else, you can ask. I do want to introduce, I have Eddy Nathan. Oh, sorry. Eddy Nathan is with us tonight. He's our Director of Pupil Personnel Services. And this is Trisha Blum. I'd like to introduce her. She's new. She's our new interim CEO, and we're very glad to have her. So I wanted you to be aware of who's with me. So a few of the changes that are in this charter. Number one, it was originally a 7 through 12 charter. We changed it to a kindergarten, K through 12. We also have an address that we've included in this petition. The address is 8844 Burton Way. That's Beverly Hills, California. And we've changed, because this charter was written not very long ago, but some time ago, we updated some of the academic verbiage to match more of our elementary models for other charters. Those were the material changes we made. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, or any of us will.
Do I recognize you from the Santa Clarita Pinecrest campus?
I'm there quite often. So I'm sorry, I'm the Chief Academic Officer for all of our schools, so I kind of bebop around, but I have been on that campus quite often lately.
It was during my
however, the site director and I have a very striking resemblance, and I am often called Mr. Cusack, so I think that's who you met, Mr. Fox.
So I do have a question, specifically, so I read the whole thing, and I'm familiar with what you've done on the Santa Clarita campus, as well as your track record out over at Hart. So for me, my concern is not about your guys' ability to educate kids. And generally, I fully support giving parents choice. But I am always, in every one of these that come before me, especially the seat-based ones, I'm always concerned with making sure that the demographic mix portions are achieved, because in my opinion at least, and I think it's in the law there, that charter schools aren't really, they're expressly not trying to resegregate schools in any way along any lines. So to that end, do you, because I went online and I looked at some of your outreach programs, and the only ones I could find, at least online, were the ones where you were targeting folks in Beverly Hills at the particular temple location. What kind of events have you had to look for Hispanic or socioeconomically disadvantaged students to date?
Well, the info sessions we have are open for anyone. So
Yes. Yes, but the only place I saw it advertised was on their website. And
I'll have.
perhaps if I
No,
was a
we have-
Hispanic person,
there's
I wouldn't
more.
go to their website to look for the information.
Yeah, so until we got the approval from this board, we've had very limited number of info sessions. We do have an info session scheduled this coming Monday at Westwood Presbyterian Church, which is outside of the Beverly Hills School District. It's in the LAUSD territory. You know, should we get the approval, we will certainly do the same kind of outreach we've done at all of our schools.
Which, I'm the person here, if Mr. Shapiro was here, I'm the one who looked at the data and said you were successful down with in Santa Clara at the Pinecrest School, when I compared it against their demographics and ours. Specifically though, you're trying to match our demographics for the Hispanic community,
Yep.
English language learners and socioeconomic learners. How is going to the Presbyterian Church necessarily going to help you? Your charter petition says that you're going to have materials in Spanish and specifically reach out to those communities.
Correct.
So you still haven't satisfied me.
Typically what we do when we start the process of getting the word out, recruiting students, in the past we've done postcard campaigns, Facebook campaigns, where we can actually look at the demographics, and like on Facebook, for example, you can identify the demographics that you're trying to connect with, and the same with the postcard campaigns. The postcard campaigns, you could specifically identify families with children, the age group that you're looking at, and in specific neighborhoods.
But at this point in time, you don't have any calendarized events other than the Presbyterian Church event.
Right now, that's our only scheduled info session.
When do you plan on holding the lottery, if a lottery is necessary?
We don't have the date of the lottery planned yet. That's
When are you anticipating opening this school?
in August.
In August.
Yeah.
So when would you think the lottery would have to happen?
Probably.
It just feels very rushed to me, and so I'm not trying to be
Well,
combative. I'm trying to make sure that I believe that you're going to be successful.
It's a tight timeline. So we're probably looking at opening the official pre-lottery application window following approval, and then having the lottery within, a very short time frame.
Very, very short. So you
Yeah.
don't have a whole lot of time to go and try to get a mix.
We don't. I mean, we need to get moving on this very quickly because we also need to hire teachers.
Yep.
We need to make sure.
Well, I've seen some teacher applications up on the web, so you've at least started posting those.
We haven't posted on EdJoin.
Right.
We've posted on our internal recruitment site.
Oh, no, I saw some on EdJoin.
Not for Beverly Hills.
Is your concern whether that there is a proper outreach for the
Of course.
segregation?
One of the things that we have to find is that they'll be successful, and I can't remember which of the 16 criteria it is, but it's in reaching a demographic mix that matches the chartering district. And this is generally where charter schools do have a trouble. I was the one who showed you the Tom Torkelson letter, and you're going to have more trouble. My concern is that with a rushed timeline, you're more likely to have trouble hitting the demographics you want to hit.
Do you feel you'll have the opportunity in good faith to do the proper outreach in that regard?
We will, and I actually think it's a unique situation because several years ago, the Beverly Hills School District changed its policy with regard to accepting students from out of district, and that essentially they expelled about 800 students from their school district that are in the LAUSD boundaries, and we would expect that a high percentage of those students would be immediately interested in this particular school, as it sits right on the boundary of Beverly Hills and the LAUSD.
Do you have an interest list yet? Do you have any
We do.
indications? You do?
Yeah.
Do you have the demographic list of your interest list?
I can certainly figure it out, but what I can tell you is that based on the interest list that I have currently, the demographic has quite a bit of variety.
Okay. So let me amplify a little bit more. The way it works is once you have the first set of students, they get to continue on each year.
Correct.
So if you don't get it right the first time, it takes years to fix it.
Right.
Years, especially then because siblings get to come in, preferred. So that's why I'm really quite concerned in your ability to meet the intent of the law and your plan, which says you're going to outreach in Spanish, you have Spanish materials and all this when you've got like a month to do it.
Well, I would hope that our track record speaks for itself. And I'm sure when you walk around our campus in Santa Clarita, you saw that, you know, it was quite reflective.
I know. I also know you did
Yeah.
plenty of outreach events in Santa Clarita to the Hispanic community. What were you going to, do you
Well, I
have
was
any
just
idea
gonna
of the
say, I mean, there is-
demographics of your interest list?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any idea of the demographics of your interest list?
Like I said, we can get that exact for you. I can tell you that the
I
people
have
that
a
have
feeling that
come.
Mr. Fox is,
Let him answer. He's answering the question.
Larry, please.
Please.
I can tell you that based on the people that have come to our info sessions, it is quite diverse. And the EL population in that area might be slightly different than here, but EL population will be served for sure.
Okay, you just have nothing really hard for me. And the lottery comes up in July.
Well, I can certainly get that to you before the lottery. We didn't go through the interest list.
Okay. You guys have any questions on that topic? I'm done on that topic.
Well, what I wanted to express here, that it appears to me that that's an important issue, that your vote would depend on that possibly. So it would make sense that that information was available to them, right? That's what I was trying to say. So it's not a direct concern of mine because, you know, I feel satisfied that you will make in good faith an outreach effort and then provide us with those numbers. And if something comes along that you know is not in accordance to what it should be, then we can address at that point. There's no reason for me to believe that at this point that there's any efforts on your part to exclude anybody in any manner.
It's not about excluding.
And I'm not saying you're saying that.
There's a plan. You just have to read your charter.
Of course.
And in the charter, it says they're going to do all these things. And I'm testing to see if they've done all those things, especially when there's about a month until the lottery.
Well,
I know you're in a rush.
No, I'm saying that to you, especially at the time. Yeah.
Well, just keep in mind, we've been very careful to respect the process and not to be presumptuous in terms of making certain efforts before the revisions were approved. So our outreach has been limited on all counts to this point. Assuming we get the approval tonight, you know, and understanding that the window is very tight between tomorrow morning and the end of August, you know, those outreach efforts will be ramped up very, very quickly. And we'll use all the same efforts that we've used at our other schools. And I can assure you that the demographics will show the kind of diversity that we have at all of our schools, which are reflective of the Acton Agua Dulce School
And
District.
if it doesn't?
Pardon?
And if it doesn't?
Well, can I take a stab at that? Mr. President?
Of course.
This is the way, Mr. Fox brings up legitimate points. This is the way I see it, is the school district doesn't directly run any of our charter schools. They're by their very nature, they're independent schools. But what we do is we enter into memorandums of understanding with each of our school districts, which will be the case here as well. And for me, as a policymaker, it simply boils down to this. The burden is on Einstein to do the outreach to have an effective demographic mix of your students. Okay. Mr. Fox may be right that once your student population is seated and it's not diverse, it may be more difficult for you to diversify it. But the way I see it is that's not our issue, that's your issue. Evaluate whether or not the charter school, whichever one it is, whether it's Einstein or one of our other charters, is effectively operating within their charter proposal, in this case the material provision, and within the requirements of the MOU. And if they're not, the expectation I would have is that the board would be putting through the superintendent, whichever school it is, yours or someone else's, is that you're not operating within the guidelines of the MOU. And if it turns out at some point, 5 years from now, any charter school, I'm not referencing you, any charter school would not get their charter review.
It's just much harder once it's established.
Well, I understand, but what I'm saying is that's their burden. That's their burden to meet. I think what's important for us is to make sure that the expectation is correctly set and accurately and clearly set, that we expect a level of diversity considering where you are, any charter school, where they are. And rather than me worry about it or have a burden, just have an expectation. I let you carry the burden, and you either meet the expectation or you don't. And we have a track record of charters who haven't met certain operational requirements. They're short-lived. So I see nothing different with Einstein. So anyway, that's the way I see it in terms of if Mr. Fox was saying if you don't meet the demographic, the ultimate bottom line is that any charter school that doesn't do so ceases to be a sponsored charter school. So I would.
So you feel that there's safeguards in place?
Well, I believe there are. I think Mr. Fox's point is he doesn't want to wait. Ultimately, he wants to ensure that there's that they have a path for success.
I get it. You're close. We're supposed to judge their ability to succeed. Now, that's right. With this timeline and a line of questioning, I'm not convinced they will succeed in reaching a demographic mix that matches up.
Well,
the timeline's very short. There's no calendar of events for some of the outreach that's prescribed in the charter.
What I would point to sort of alleviate that concern is our Huntington Beach Blended Learning Academy. So we're on a very similar timeline to the Huntington Beach Blended Learning Academy. That facility kind of landed on our doorstep in the middle of May of last year. And that program was added under the umbrella of the Santa Clarita Valley Elementary Charter. And we did have success in not only, meeting the obligations in that very short timeline, not only in terms of recruiting teachers and getting the program up and running, but also doing the outreach necessary to attract a diverse demographic to that academy.
Are they limited in head count down there?
264 students.
But that's going to be sponsored by Huntington Beach.
Yes.
Yeah, this is.
No,
Okay,
I understand. So I know why you're wanting to clarify that for everyone out there.
Yeah.
Right.
My clarification was, that I was seeking was, you said, let me give you a counterpoint of where we've been successful under a short timeline.
Yeah, with the same timeline.
With the same timeline.
Yep.
And then what I'm trying to say is, okay, when I hear blended learning, sometimes there's not a cap on enrollment. So you have more flexibility to get it fixed. Here, you've got 300 spots, you're going to have a lottery. If you don't, what goes into the lottery isn't good, or mixed. What comes out of the lottery statistically isn't mixed.
So can you prioritize
And so what you're trying to
based
tell
on
me,
the
wait, I'm almost
demographics
there,
in the lottery?
Brent. So in the Huntington Beach case that you're citing,
Yes.
there was fixed enrollment, and on a similar timeline, you managed to achieve demographic mix as required or close to it with what I would consider, but not necessarily a rushed outreach process.
Correct.
Thank you.
They'll look like the other
And
schools.
you don't. I just want to make sure there's time to do it right. Thank you.
I think, would you just represent, Mr. Layton, did you have anything?
Just a little bit. Along these same lines, I don't know if this is what Mr. Fox had in mind or not, but wouldn't you suspect we're going to have some people that are going to, be it falsely alleged, that you're being prejudicial in favor of certain groups, say Jewish group, and as opposed to non-Jewish?
That's not what Mr. Fox
Of which, excuse me?
That's not what I was saying.
Okay, but in any event, we'll attribute it to my comment. And knowing that you're not going to do that from the experiences that we've had with you in Santa Clarita, but keeping in mind that some people might come up and say that. That's why I too think that it's very important. I think it's page 83, is it, where you get into the student admissions, where you say that you're going to recruit the diverse, and there will be no discrimination, and it'll comply with the ed code that we do have to comply with, or the 47605 B5H. I would assume that you would kind of see this on the horizon and be taking steps, even though it has to be done, snap, crackle, pop, like the cereal, that the ingoing that can be part of the lottery and the outgoing that is going to result in the not only complying with all these rules, but having everybody that is looking down on us from LA Unified to Sacramento will know that you are putting together the most diversified group that you possibly can. Am I right in that that's part of what you're looking at here?
No, that's absolutely legitimate, and we've come across this before. We have two programs that use facilities that are owned by churches, and this facility is owned by a synagogue. So I'm sure the issues will be very similar. But as you know, facilities for charter schools are one of the big, at least probably the biggest challenge that we have. And the result is that two of our existing programs are in churches. We happen to come across a very good facility that happens to be owned by a synagogue. So it'll be a similar challenge that we'll face in that regard. So
You guys might do better if you went to a DSA. Might be easier.
But it is important to note that the building that we are occupying is an education building and has been set up as a school for 20 years.
It's
Classrooms,
actually
science labs,
yeah.
a theater. It is a school, not a place of religious study.
It's completely separate from from the part of the campus where they have their sanctuary and their banquet hall and their preschool. It's a separate building.
So we just don't need a bunch of people coming and saying, well, this was all predetermined. These were the 300. They got to be coming from the original, whatever lottery number is. And they gave us 48 hours and told us 96 hours later. But I'm sure you've got it under control.
Yes. So since I opened this line, I'll say that between your track record at SCB, which I've personally seen, and I take your word regarding Huntington Beach success on the same or similar timeline. I'm satisfied.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox.
If nobody else, I have another point.
Oh, you did? Please.
Okay. 300 students.
That's our beginning number.
How many were at Acton when SCB had half of their school at Acton? I know we have findings that say Acton only can house how many?
Well, there's two schools there, right? So you have our school at one of those facilities. And then there are two schools.
Let me be clear.
Okay.
I don't remember the reports. said that we had housing for how many at Acton School? Because of course we couldn't fit 700 in Acton School.
300, give or take?
I think we came up
500? You're talking about at the Agua Dulce site.
Yeah.
No,
At the Acton site, it was very few.
I know, it was 100,
Several
last year you did it.
Less than 100. I thought it was like 100.
It was like
in that neighborhood.
And I would also three.
Well, Agua Dulce is full, so it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
But I'm just, there's a study that's out there, I forgot to take time to go back and look at it, and it said 150.
I think that's a little high, but let's say.
That's your recollection. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Do we have any other questions for Mr.
I don't personally believe that Einstein's got anything going on where they're using public funds to run a pseudo religious school. So I'm going to limit my comments to that. Thank you, gentlemen.
I wasn't going to.
Is
their ability on a short timeline to make adequate difference?
No, I completely respect your, and I would have agreed if you wish to pursue it further, because that is a very valid concern. The timeline, we're trusting you guys to diligently go after that, and while that notion is out there, I don't want in any way look at you through those binoculars. It's just not engaging in that, I believe, to be anti-Semitic and engaging. So we have a comment from Mr. Fallstaft, the Senator. Agenda item 10.1.
Yeah, this is on this topic.
Please announce your name.
Ken Fallsgraf. Couple of things. I have an association to that area on a daily basis, and I don't know how many of you get up there very often, but it's not Acton, and the demographic is very different than Acton, and I think sometimes it's confusing for people to expect that somehow you would mimic the demographic here, whether it would be the English learner, the definition of an English learner. I think that's very different here than it is there. The people may look different, they may be different. And so another thing I want to know is if, this question is for you all, if you don't know who's going to apply for your lottery, right? How do you know the demographic until the lottery comes in? And then you can't just pick people out of the lottery and go, oh, you're in, but you're not. So it's a game of chance, per se, right? So I think the demographic issues won't be known until you actually have your student body.
I agree with you, Mr.
Okay,
Fallsgraf.
okay, so.
I agree with you, that's why.
So I think that's not an issue.
That they do a good job of.
Next thing is, I have a daughter that goes to an Albert Einstein school. You all haven't been successful in converting us from Mormonism to Judaism, so I don't buy this is private, a Jewish school. Finally, I've been openly critical about the effects of going into other people's areas with charter schools and hoping that you're going to service somebody and you're really not making money there. It impacts the local students through legal fees, and I don't know where that's going, but I believe what makes this one different is that have you all seen the Beverly Hills Courier tonight, just tonight? It says within the Courier tonight that there's been some agreement reached, and it says that you guys actually, for once, have permission to come into someone else's school district. And that's different from what's happened in the past. No, I'm not going to point fingers at why these other people aren't letting you in or what the game is, but the game in this time is that you actually have the blessing of the Beverly Hills Unified School District to operate within the boundaries. So this is a game changer for you all. So if you're not hearing me, I support this.
That's kind of what I
Okay, good.
I still had the concerns that I have, which are irrespective of that agreement. But
yeah, so
since you've mentioned it, and there's an audience
maybe you should
out
vote
there,
yes.
Perhaps somebody wants to talk about that agreement.
Well, I'd be happy to do that, even though this particular agreement, there's an MOU, since it is public as of yesterday, with the Beverly Hills Unified School District, and this case, Albert Einstein Academy for the Letters, Arts, and Sciences. The main issue that I was concerned about and involved, and the particular reason why I kept pulling it from the agenda was simply because this agreement wasn't in place. There was some, in particular, basically under section 4, and again, I just have this today, so gone through this extensively. The district, in this case, Beverly Hills Unified, agrees it will not challenge Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District's legal right to grant a charter petition for a charter school to be operated within the district's boundaries. So he's absolutely correct. They're welcoming us into the district. I'm really pleased with the fact that we have a joint agreement with Beverly Hills Unified. And so we're looking forward to, obviously, the possibility of doing that and fostering a relationship with that school district and doing some joint ventures together.
You know, I'd like to make a comment along those same lines. Primarily, as you probably know, I was the lone vote against you on past charters. And this one, it seems like you're on two ends of a spectrum. Last time, I just couldn't see under my vote going into Santa Clarita and doing that to them. Here now, you're way at the other end. It almost seems like a match made in heaven that you got the Beverly Hills District, the whole school board saying, yeah, come here, welcome arms. And then maybe somebody is going to say, well, why would they ever do something like that? Well, because if I understand it right, they don't have to worry about ADA. They don't have to worry about losing any students because all their schools are paid for by the property taxes. And what can they do to make everybody happy? Let the charter school come in, give everybody a freedom of choice, and everybody seems to be happy. And it's just too bad we can't have that type of arrangement for charter schools throughout the nation. But we're not all Beverly Hills. So you can probably see how I'm going to vote this time. I think it's just great. This MOU did it. And I spent a lot of time looking at it. So.
I'm really happy that we vote on this time, because you're right, it's ironic that you were opposed to this at the beginning.
But for a certain reason, what I call the golden rule.
Of course.
And you legal reasons.
You don't want to do this to us, that's what you're saying.
Well, let's just take everybody's students and teachers and support programs.
I think the way this charter is being done is it would be pretty much a case study of how charters were supposed to be done initially. And I think the government in creating charters and allowing charters to be created, it was trying to basically create competition of this type, not the type that we've been, legal battle over. So, are we ready for a vote? Any further discussion?
That's 10.2.
Okay, we'll close the hearing at 8:37, and we're going to move on to 11.2. 10.2, I'm sorry. And we want to 10.2, resolution number 14-5.1.0, Albert Einstein Academy of Letters, Arts, and Sciences Odyssey. With the material revision, it's recommended the board approve resolution number 14-15.10, AEA-LSA Odyssey. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimously approved, 401.
Good luck to you.
Good.
Can
Thank
I
you.
step out and just say,
Sure.
my name is Trisha Blum. My colleague introduced me, and I just want to say thank you. This is my 8th day with Albert Einstein. I'm going to call that a big success for all of us, and we are really proud to be partners with you, and we really do appreciate all of your tough questions. They keep us on our toes, they keep us organized, and we really do want to do what's best for our students, our children, our demographics. So thank you, and I look forward to working with you.
The only thing we ask in return is please be forthcoming with the information that we ask for.
They have been, Mr. Porter.
As far as in that specific regard,
Okay,
I want to make sure that Mr. Fox is satisfied.
We will be
also the rest.
especially conscious of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, we're moving on to 10.3. Special Education Handbook is recommended. The board approve this Special Education Handbook. I'll second that. Any discussion? Have you had a chance to take a look? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 401. Moving on to 10.4. Perkins Waiver. It's recommended the board approve the Perkins Waiver as presented. Do I have a move?
Move.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Any discussion?
Yes, what is it?
Yes.
I read it,
For the purpose of public's edification, the superintendent would just give a brief synopsis as to what it is.
Absolutely. We previously held, it's a Perkins grant. It's through a college and career prep type organization in the class. I mean, a set of money, if you will, there's very little money. It's a career technical and education money that we can put towards career technical classes. And previous years, the money wasn't a whole lot of money, and there was a lot of accountability. Mr. DeVoe and his staff has agreed to do that, meaning take care of all the paperwork associated with it. It's a small amount of money, but we are looking to get back into that because of the ROP and the lack of funding there. So we feel like we need as much money as we can in all areas to be able to make sure those programs exist.
so they're willing to take on the burden of what used to be not worth the effort
Exactly.
to get every dime we can.
That's correct.
Thank you. I know your salary, but not hourly, so thank you.
All in favor of 10.4, Perkins Waiver?
Aye.
Aye. 401. 11.0, Personnel Services. 11.1, Resignation of Certified Employees. We pulled one employee from that. Employee number 141530, Principal Metalwork. That's been pulled. We're voting on 141531, Special Education Teacher, effective 6/30/15. Do I have a move? I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to 11.2, resignation, release of classified employee. It's recommended the board approve the resignation of the following classified individuals. Employee number 141533.
I'll move.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Was it 533?
Yes. Employee number 141533, that was 11.2, agenda item 11.2. 11.3,
We did that.
We've already done that.
We already did that. We moved that.
oh yeah, we moved that one up, very good. 11.4, we're moving on every one of these with the exception of 141535. So 11.4 is approval of coaching personnel with the exception of 141535, which is varsity assistant coach girls volleyball.
I can move it.
I'll second that.
It's not that we're voting against the party.
Correct.
We've tabled that.
We've tabled that. Exactly.
I got a question.
We pulled it.
There's nothing behind this question other than, is this normally when we do this, or are we trying to get a head start relative to when we typically do this?
A little bit of both. We try to get as much fall done as we can now.
Because I know sometimes the coaching staff is comes in right on time by the time you guys find
There's a lot of
people who
summer
want to do
programs
it.
too, Mr. Fox.
What's that?
There's a lot of summer programs that are typical, and so what I've asked Mr. DeVoe to be a season ahead, so that there's only maybe a lingering 1 or 2 or 3 coaches that he has to do instead of, as things fall apart. Not to mention the summer programs are kind of important as well, especially in the football and some of the programs that they have coming up.
So this is to get out ahead of things. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of 11.4?
Aye.
Aye, and again, note that from 11.4, 141535 has been pulled and tabled. 12.1 future agenda items, we have the late start school day study that I discussed earlier. And we have the residual construction fund discussion, the developer fees. So we have those two. Is there
That
any?
one's actually indicative to phase 3 from the Vasquez High School construction.
Developer fee.
Okay, then why did we take the developer? Should we leave the developer fees on there?
They're supposed to come back to us.
Well, the developer fee study, we have the summary and the update, and then when they're finished, then they'll come back with a resolution. So I took it off simply because
It's on there.
we already discussed it. And
But it's a good question, if you don't mind, Mr. Porter.
board
Just the
meetings
last
ago?
board meeting.
Is it the last one?
board
Okay, and they said 3 to 4 weeks, so it's our expectation they'd come back in another couple weeks?
That
Because
is
they,
fine.
they did tell us they were right at the end, so
That's
I'm just kind of leading the witness to chew them, and make sure they come in when they said they would.
They need to, we need to wrap it up before the last board meeting, for sure.
What we left the district with, staff with, is that in the fall, we wanted to have a vote on development, not just receipt of the study, but to actually have a vote in regard to development. So,
And when's our last meeting of the summer?
The last meeting is what, June
11th.
27th?
26th?
6th?
So we have 2 more of these.
We have 2 more.
So to stay on Mr. Distaso's schedule, would that suggest that we would expect that study in 2 weeks, which is in alignment with the 3 to 4 weeks they told us 2 weeks ago?
well, I don't recall how long it'll take
I
to
don't
put
recall that either.
to put a resolution with, for us.
So we're talking about resolution versus, so there's a couple different things. They'll give a report and then they'll have a resolution.
I looked back at the notes, I think they said they'd be done in 3 or 4 weeks, so I'm just asking you to follow up with.
Well, of course.
As we've left
We're
other
only
stuff,
2 weeks from them, so hold their word.
as we've left other stuff on here until we resolve this will be up for vote eventually. I'd like it left on future agenda items.
The only reason why we wanted to take a vote is to take advantage of current developer fees because pretty quickly after the turn of the year, it's every other year, those fees are going to be studied by the state. And I wanted to get current fees locked in place before those new fees went. So that means that we have to do this, we have to have a resolution and take a vote on developer fees in the fall. Or we're going to miss the vote for the 2014.
Get the damn study. Okay, thank you.
So, if you could please just leave that on there. Yeah, add it like before, like it was there before. So we just have 3 items, the late start, the residual construction. And then 13.0 calendar, our next meeting is June 4th. We have a budget study session. It's a special board meeting at 6:30 right here, no closed session. Then we have,
Possibly, we may add that.
will we then have a 7:30 public start?
Yeah, well, no, depends on what happens.
Okay. Then we'll notify within 72
We'll
hours.
notify everyone within the room.
14.0, okay, and then the next meeting after is our regular meeting, which will be the June 11, 2015, 7:30, public meeting, 6:30, closed session, right here again. 14.0, closed session. We didn't take a vote on anything, so there's nothing to report on closed session. 15.0, adjournment. Do I have a move? I'll second it. All in favor?